when you hire the person, you're hiring the person's intellect. When people come to work, they come to work with their
The
mental
value.
baggage, their psychological baggages, everything. So you're not just telling gone are the days where you tell people come to work and just detach, do your work and go.
Yeah.
No, it's all encompassing. It's an experience because a lot of people spend most of their time at work, and you can't tell them, oh, shut this aspect of your life until you're out of work. No, if I have a personal issue that is weighing me down, there are ways that those things could translate to the quality of work that I produce for
Yeah.
you.
True.
And so it's important if there are things in place to accommodate those kinds of couple of many years ago were considered like an admin office of the company, and a lot of people are still even in that space where all they do is transactions, so processes, you're processing leave administration, hiring, firing, just the basic, administrative tasks.
Yeah.
And then things evolved, things changed. Oh, we said, oh, we're no longer just admin, we are now human resources. So every
Hi everyone. You're welcome to Skillfully Spoken, a podcast session for Pro Body. On this session, I have Uchechi. Uchechi is always here, always here, always here. Uchechi is my co-founder. Myself, Udoka will be. Will I be? Am I hosting this today? No, I don't call it we're hosting. We're just having a tete-a-tete. So I'm not hosting.
yeah,
Let's call her the host, and I'm the semi guest.
we're having a board meeting.
Yeah, public. So we can document it and say we had the session. See that we record that we had that session.
Yeah.
Today we want to just look at something that's just fantastic that we've been hearing over a few weeks now. It's about HR. HR has never always been called HR. HR is now they always and then what do we call it? Is it people management, right? Yeah, let's call it people. Let's start with people management. So what is people management? People we've heard every kind of evolutionary name about them. The kind of people that work there. That's your space.
Yeah,
So I'm going to throw some jibes. I'm going to throw some jibes at you. So just let's just get ready for it today.
yeah. I mean, we're just talking about it. That's how the function has evolved over the years. A couple of many years ago, were considered like an admin office of the company, and a lot of people are still even in that space where all they do is transactions, so processes, you're processing leave administration, hiring, firing, just the basic, administrative tasks.
Yeah.
And then things evolved, things changed. Oh, we said, oh, we're no longer just admin, we are now human resources. So every organization,
Because you're trying to cut away the operational aspect per se of the
not
organization from anything that
necessarily,
concerns.
not necessarily cut away the administrative process because that will always be there. I mean, there are systems now that make those things faster.
No, no. So when I say administrative purpose, like there's an admin aspect of the organization, like whether it's logistics, whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
cleaning, whether it's every other part. So the HR part now looks at the human part.
yeah,
Anything, even if it's an operational part, but it concerns humans. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
HR chose to carry along.
So yeah, but like I said, we still do a bit of those administrative work. So move to human resources because then you started thinking about the fact that in every organization there are different resources that the organization uses to achieve their goals. And there are financial resources, which would be the capital and the operating expense or whatever of the
Yeah.
company. And then there is also the human resources, right? So the people. And so now years down the line,
Before you go to now years down the line, human
okay,
resource.
so what's the
Yeah.
difference?
A lot
What?
of people have said at the point in time, you guys took out the human from the HR. At the point in time,
Yeah, which is where we are right now. Which is where we are.
okay.
But before we even get to where we are, so when it became human resources, it became more a bit more strategic. So you have things like workforce planning,
Okay.
where the department sits with managers, looks at the business strategy, and begins to think, okay, do we have the right people?
Okay.
And if we don't have the right people, do we need to hire? Do we need to upskill? Do we need to, the whole talent management framework thing started,
Okay.
the competency framework, skills, and then you started hearing things like soft skill, hard skills,
Yes.
technically, all those um, things that we say. So it's been a journey, but where we are going now is now we're talking about people and culture. So we're talking about seeing
Why?
the
Why the transition?
humans as people. I mean, for the longest, I've always had, and it's funny, everybody that worked with me when I was in Nigeria knew this about me. I always had a problem when I'm talking to managers and they tell me, oh, I need more hands. No, you don't need more hands because I'm not going to go hire a hand for you. Now, I know that that is a figure of speech, but it did frame a thinking. It did
Okay.
frame a perception that I'm just hiring this person to come do the work.
Yeah.
But that's not what you're doing. And so when things began to evolve into people and culture, it resonated with me because it's something that I've personally advocated for. You hire a human being, like a whole person. And
Okay.
when you hire the person, you're hiring the person's intellect. When people come to work, they come to work with their
Full
mental
value.
baggage, their psychological baggages, everything. So you're not just telling gone are the days where you tell people come to work and just detach, do your work and go.
Yeah.
No, it's all encompassing. It's an experience because a lot of people spend most of their time at work and you don't see
Mhm.
you can't tell them, oh, shut this aspect of your life until you're out of work. No, if I have a personal issue that is weighing me down, there are ways that those things could translate to the quality of work that I
Output.
produce
Yeah.
for you.
True.
And so it's important if there are things in place to accommodate those kinds of nuances. And if you don't begin to look at your employees as a whole human being, and you continue to make that distinction of making it transactional, so there are resources that are your human resources and not just this person. It's just I think that the term helps frame or reframe the thinking. And so you don't want people just coming to say, I'm hiring this person because they can do this. But then you are hiring a person. And that's why I think a couple of weeks ago I talked about if it's time for us to rethink culture fit. Because I mean that's a whole different
Yes.
conversation.
Wait, so I see. You see, I like what's happening is like that teenager that is trying to find themselves,
Yeah,
right? I'm trying to find myself. Do I really like chocolates or do I prefer vanilla?
yeah.
Right? You know, after that, oh, I like chocolate. Like, oh, I need water. You say, what kind of water? You say, is it or every type of water? They're trying to find the kind of friends you want to have. After spending 1 or 2 years, Dad, I don't like this friend.
What do I really want to do with my life?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
yeah,
I want to do with my life. And that's okay. Do you know what? I want to be a fashion designer. 6 months on the line, ah, I don't think.
maybe not.
I guess that's what's happening in the HR space. Or is that what's happening? Or your HR, I still call it HR in quotes, are trying to evolve into that skill-based driven bit. Because the only way you can remain much more relevant, which is a good thing in itself, is because there's
Mhm.
a lot of tweaking in line with changes in times and
Mm.
seasons, which is good. But it's about, are we trying to capture skills directly, or it's just let's just evolve? The documentation will come later.
Let me start by saying this. Let me lead with this. I don't think that what's happening in HR or in the function is not it's happening exclusively to us. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in all other functions,
Roles.
in finance, in supply chain, whatever, tech.
Finance is still called finance till tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean the name might be the same, but the way the work itself is approached.
Sorry to change your train of thought, but who determines the name? Is it that one company just starts with, we're calling it people and culture? Everybody starts saying, oh yeah, people and culture, and we all, then
Yeah,
tomorrow someone will just
I,
say,
I don't know. I don't know who determines the name, but then it makes sense. I mean, I was just telling you how one of our regulatory bodies now has a department. now reframe theirs to be human experience or people experience. So and that's actually what it should be. It should be a function that drives people experience within the company. That's a bit more humane than just being the corporate cop that chases
HR
down
used to be.
people. Yeah, yeah. Some people see HR as the corporate cop, but that's not what we should be doing. We should be focused on ensuring that employees have a robust employee experience throughout the company. So there is a whole journey of an employee in an organization from entry to exit. And how do you frame that journey to capture the best version of that employee? How do you help that employee leverage their skills, expertise, and even to help them evolve and grow? I know that there are people that don't want to grow, but but there are also people that want to grow. And even for those people that don't want to grow, want to have a good experience at work. And how you frame that experience for them, how you help the enabling environment you create for them to have that great experience is very fundamental. And that's why culture, it's now being, I mean, you see people, they are culture architects and all of that. It's a big thing
Culture
now.
architect. There's a
Yeah,
role called culture
it's a
architect.
role. It's a role because you
Wow.
are supposed to help in driving the culture of the organization. Like, who are we as an organization? Do we even know who we are? Some organizations just start off doing things and then it becomes a part of them. And there are also ways that you may want to re-engineer the culture of the organization. But this is something that we've been doing in this organization, but it doesn't serve us well. It makes it difficult for us to attract talent. It makes it difficult for us to hire people or keep our people or reduce our attrition and things like that. How do we maybe change the culture within the organization? And I'm a firm believer that culture change has to be top down. I mean, you can't be preaching A and doing B, and people will align. So all those kind of things, what are the data points that you're using for your
Yeah.
determine? I mean, there are, it's different. It's about experience. When I'm coming to work, how do I feel when I wake up in the morning? I mean, much earlier in my career, it used to be, oh, I dread Mondays, or I dread this day of the
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
and things like that. And that's because there
And
was,
thank God it's Friday.
and thank God it's Friday, exactly. And then that's because there was no focus on the experience people have at work. There was no focus on that. And what the name change from human resources to people and culture does, it helps you just reframe thinking. Now, it's not that things are fundamentally different. Of course, there are shifts, and there will continue to be shifts.
Yeah.
But the point is, we're beginning to see people for people, and we're beginning to realize that if you want people to give you their best selves, you have to get involved in their experience within the company and everything. And when you say experience, it's all encompassing, right? So you want to ensure that people are bringing them their best selves to work. There are some companies that I see, and it's really always funny when I see it. But I had to stop one day and I thought about it. I said, hold on, this does make sense. So I saw a colleague whose title is Chief Happiness Officer. And I thought that was a funny title for a people and culture person or HR person. And I thought, But then after teasing about it, I did step back to think about it. And it's actually true, because if people are happy at work, listen, you are able to tap into that discretionary effort. You see people doing things for the company that naturally they really isn't any reason why they should do it. But they are happy at work and they are constantly thinking, what can I do to make my work better?
So there's something here I've noticed in this discussion. HR is expanding. I don't know whether I'll call it vertically or horizontally. For example, when you see that culture architect, I've never heard of a culture architect before. A culture architect, you are now looking at you're now looking at something that is much more experiential.
Yeah.
You've talked about this happiness officer. It's much more experiential, right? I'm just thinking of how one will grow a career and get into a place called cultural architect or happiness officer. I'm just, we have another mutual friend that we brought the other day that is called, she's called, what's that her role again? The happy employee coach, right? And some people might have have to look at such kind of thing. It's more experiential.
Yeah.
So this the human part
Yeah.
of that
So,
HR now that we're beginning to
so
see.
it's not, I wouldn't say it's the human part because everything we've done up until now has been human. Has been human.
Well,
I would say the humane part. I would say the humane part because then you're now in touch with people's emotions, people's psychology, people's ability to just be people. And so you reframe how you reframe some of your policies, and it's no longer work life balance where, oh, you leave work at work. It's now an integration because now we have hybrid, and people are
yeah.
working from home sometimes and people are working from the office sometimes. Those integrations, the lines, the dividing work and professional life and personal life is becoming thinner and thinner, and we need to bridge that gap to ensure that the quality of life does not dwindle because that line is becoming almost thinned out.
So we are now seeing an opportunity for a lot much more analytics. But this is where some of this
Yeah,
AI, machine
yeah,
learning,
exactly.
yeah, AI, machine learning, they are all underneath this now to understand, okay, you are now from that experience, you are now able to impute because you need to be able to measure growth or value as a cultural architect. I like that name, cultural architect. So when you need to be able to show value to
Yeah,
your board or to your product. This is where we started from.
yeah,
We have thrown around these numbers, and based on this, we can, there's this other part we saw that so at the point in time, you can now find out that with the way we are going, I see six, seven of these people resigning very soon
yeah.
because of one, two, three things. The happiness officer can also say in their numbers also that they have seen, it also aligns. So there's all these touch points.
That was my first time of ever hearing that there's something called HR tech. And it wasn't HR tech as I thought it would be, which would be maybe just the analytics,
Yeah,
all that. That portion was there. But this person was talking about this experiential journey that we're talking about right now. And this was a couple of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years. And the person was talking about how that is going to be the future of the function. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. Because people are no longer, I mean, the generations, workforce generations are changing, and the current generation or the Gen Zs are no longer really interested in the traditional way that we used to work.
yeah,
If you're not giving them a great experience at work, they don't really care about the title. Like the title is the least of their problem. They just want to be happy at work. And I did really see a study where they were saying that very soon we're going to have um, a manager drought because nobody to take on those things.
nobody wants to lead. Yeah, nobody wants to take
Yeah, nobody
responsibility.
wants to lead.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to take that responsibility. And right now, we have seen that you can be an individual contributor at a high level and make the money and not have the burden of leading people and
yeah,
still be
true.
fulfilled. And that's where a lot of people are heading towards. Like, I don't, what you're doing shouldn't be my responsibility. Like, I mean, do you and I do me and I make my money, those kind of things.
But
So
I've
things are
always seen
changing.
leadership.
Things are changing. I mean, that's a whole different conversation that we can have.
Yeah,
But things are changing, and it's important that if you want to then keep your current generation at work, you need to reframe how you manage them. You need to reframe what your benefits are, right?
yeah,
You need
true.
to. So now you have policies like right to disconnect, because you're telling them that, I mean, you have a right to disconnect from work from this
Yeah,
time. Yeah, like you're reinforcing to them that their personal life, it's very important and crucial to you as an organization, and also you want them to take it seriously. So you have wellness benefits that include them doing things outside of work, things that they do for fun, maybe fishing and
yeah,
things like that. You have things that are geared at making them generally just happy, identifying with the brand of the organization. So
yeah,
the name changes is not just name changes. I like to think of those name changes as helping people reframe how they think in their head. But look, I think about it. If you start calling me or calling HR people and culture much more than HR, you will begin to think
Yeah,
differently about
yeah,
the
true,
function.
true, true.
You begin to think different. And even as the practitioners ourselves, it will help us think differently because now we are saying, oh, okay, we're not just about the resources, we're thinking about the experience, which is very important. I mean, it's interesting. I know we've joked about it. Oh, what's it going to be next? Is it going to be family and friends and all that? But I don't know what it will be next, and we will see what it will be next, right? But I like where we are now, and where we are does make sense to me a lot. That's why it resonates deeply. Because tell me, why do you want to hire hands? Like a whole human body. You're not hiring my brain. You're not hiring my nose. You're not hiring my eyes. You want to hire hands, which means no thinking required. Just come, do it, and move
Come on.
away. I don't know. I'm just saying. I know it's fear of speed. I know, of course, which deck? What are we decking? Please, I realize. No,
This
no,
is
no.
so you see, this is part of the problem we have with HR. The problem, see, people are in operations, people are in marketing, people need more hands, more people to support, and HR is being, come on, what do you call? See,
No, okay, so no, no,
I understand.
no, seriously, I understand that is a figure of speech.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying there's something to say about words being used to describe a
yeah,
function.
true.
Because
The
those
kind of
words
words you use.
frame begin to frame what you think of people. But if you want to re-engineer how people think, you start by the name change. Because if I say the name often enough, it will begin, my brain will
Begin
start
to
making a readjustment of this is not what I should be thinking. So I do recognize,
just an aside. So if there's this horrible boss you've had, you just start every time you just start saying, "Oh, this nice, lovely boss," even if it's sarcastic.
come on,
After
then.
a while, no. That's after a while. But the truth is, when you start seeing something in that light, I've seen it. There's a part of your brain that begins to tell you, you know what, look at it from this perspective. Yeah. Just to jump back into something, there was we spoke with Mr. True Irobe some time back, and we were talking about talent. Why I'm bringing him back up here is because he used to be head of HR. He's
Hmm.
not chief operating officer.
Yeah.
That role, most of the time, you usually would see maybe people that have been in finance or operations. So that means there's something he's doing right. Yeah, there's something he's doing right. And so where I'm coming from, a lot of other HR usually are just tied to just people.
Yeah.
They don't really understand the business itself. So is there anything else that we should be looking at? Because if people can move from HR to chief operating officer or to deputy MD, then there is something that they are bringing as value apart from the people to the business. I mean, they understand how the business runs.
Yeah, so I'll say this, that I know that when I started my career many, many years ago, one of the major challenges that I had was I didn't see what the future was at the time. And I used to question, like, is this it? Like, okay, you become head of HR or you become global head of
Yeah.
resources. So that's it. But I saw a blueprint. I did work with a lady who morphed from head of human resources into an executive director.
Okay.
And that was inspiring for me because a lot of times we stay in our bubble of people and we don't get our hands dirty. We understand the business to an extent, but we don't get involved. Like we're not in the muddy waters. And so you see that sometimes you're in a meeting and then they say, okay, now we're done with people. We want to talk this day. Oh, you don't need to stay for this part. Oh, no, I want to stay for this part because if I understand that part, then I'm able to do my
Yeah.
work better. And that blueprint that I saw at the early part of, I think this was maybe 2 or 3 years into my career as an HR practitioner, helped me. And years later, that happened for me. What you just described, I
Yeah.
moved
Yeah.
from
When he
human
became CEO.
resources to operating officer as well.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to say, and I'll say this, that's not to say that one is better than the other. That's not trying to downplay the work that we do as these practitioners. I'm just saying that a lot of times we create a bubble for ourselves, and anything outside of that bubble, we struggle with
Yeah.
it.
You don't know. Some people don't know how to evolve from being
Exactly,
that
and that's why
particular role
sometimes
to something.
you don't see us. You then you begin hearing arguments of why does HR not have a seat at the table? Those arguments, those things, they sometimes they annoy me because why are we talking about that? Why are we talking about we need a seat at the table? No, you don't need to advocate for a seat at the table. No company will see the value that you bring and not give you a seat if you
Sit at
bring
the
a
table.
seat.
True, true.
If all you and listen, we will try to advocate as much as possible, but there are some people that will never get HR and cost out of their head. Once
Mm,
they see HR, they're thinking of the cost
true.
of people, because people cost is usually the highest in most companies. So they're thinking of cost. And then when you come with any other thing, they're already shooting it down because already paying salaries and benefits and all that is pulling us down. Then you're coming with this initiative again and telling me it's employee experience. And like, what are you talking about? Can we do that some other time? We need more sales, we need more this.
Mm,
But what that does for you when you understand the business and you get into, and that's what we tried to do with the HR business partner model, where
yeah, yeah.
business partner has like each maybe business unit or business division or function has an HR partner that they deal with,
Right.
and that partner sits in their departmental meetings and all of that just to get into the nitty gritty of what they do. That's the model we try to create, and that works. But the problem is now if you don't translate, if you still make that mental distinction of it's the business and that's us.
Mm,
That's them, that's us, that's us, that's them. No, we're all one company, right?
mm,
And I should be able to stand on the stage. And when I'm being asked about people, I should be able to also answer questions about the business of my company, what our products are, who our customers are, what our strategy is,
and how we
where we
think.
want to grow. I need to understand our finances. Okay, the people that we are bringing and that we're paying this amount, what does it translate to in our books? What's our revenue? Was our this? Was our that? Do you understand those numbers? If someone gave you the financial statement, do you need an
Mm,
interpreter?
mm,
Are you able to figure things out? Like, just get into it. You work in production, manufacturing, whatever service department. Do you understand what your people do? Because how do you support that? If you had if you had someone come to you that they are struggling with something, how do you frame that experience for them if you don't have the understanding? So it's just like an internal auditor
yeah.
who needs to understand every aspect of the business to adequately audit what they are doing. Otherwise, people are probably going to just bamboozle you.
Yeah, true, true.
So you need to understand it for you to give value. Is that exactly what is happening? I can't say we are there yet, but is that where we are headed? Of course.
Mm.
Because this whole conversation about people and culture and the evolution of the things that we are doing, that's where it's headed.
Guess what's just in my mind? It's value.
Yeah,
I
value.
guess it's evolving in line with value. Where can we create much more value?
Yeah,
Because in an organization where you are able to create much more value than that little space they've given you, we now find out that okay, there's much more value that this person is creating here than we actually. For example, you are a receptionist. If all you do is just that receptionist work,
hmm,
you are great at receptionist work, but nobody have you been able to manage one or two other things and add value in a way that makes some other person's life easier?
easier.
And
Yeah,
the person says, oh, this person can step up into this role, right? There's something else we do somewhere else. You see, the skills you get in one role are usually applicable somewhere else.
yeah.
So if you want to evolve from this particular role to another role, those skills can you start maximizing them,
Then,
utilizing them because you're a talent. You're there to create value, and once you're no more creating value, then you are easily replaceable. Yes, you
yeah,
can replace people, but when we're talking about we're looking about you remember to talk about adaptability, being able to understand where you are and how to plug in yourself to add value to those places. Those are very key for us.
yeah. Absolutely. And I just think that everybody in the function should have that adaptability mindset because things are going to continue to evolve. Today's people and culture, and we're advocating for people experience and employee experience, but it could be something else tomorrow. We don't know. It could be something else. Yeah. Well, we have to because people are dynamic. And if
Yeah.
you don't move, you're going to lose the people. And then what? Right? And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't take away the administrative things. Managers are now in on the administrative things. Everybody is responsible for for some sort of administration of people, but be it the employee themselves or the managers or even the function. Everybody's involved. So we've kind of um, shared our work across board,
Yeah.
and that's even the more reason why everybody should come with their A game to the HR table, because the work that you're doing, it has to be distinct in terms of creating that experience,
Yeah.
and that's something you have to shape for the company. If you're just there to do the traditional HR as we used to know it, you probably have phased yourself out, because that time is gone.
Wow. So
That
this
time
is
is
this.
gone
So this is the upskilling.
about in HR. But hopefully we can catch up another time on some of these discussions. But it's just funny. We're now in people and culture. We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. People are moving to human experience before
Yeah, I told you. Yeah.
because you still have human experience department, you now have AI experience department because AI too is still having a feeling. So we have to differentiate people and culture
That'll be
because sometimes
interesting to
sometimes
see. What
you
does
might start
that
saying,
mean? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So human experience, AI experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll see. All right.
Thanks for coming on this today. I hope it's been interesting for our viewers that have tuned in today. We're just talking about HR. We're just talking about everything. I don't know why we call it HR, admin, HR, people culture,
Evolution.
the evolution. I'm sure some other people might have something.
Oh, some people used to call it, because some people even say it moved from human resources to talent management, and now
Before human resources, there was something, not planning. There's a name for HR. I remember.
capital, human capital.
Not human capital. Gee, there's a name for HR. I can see it in my head. I see it in my head. There's a name before HR. HR didn't
Okay.
just come from admin. But
Okay.
it just keeps on evolving. And the summary of it for me here is about value and skill. For example, we've talked about here today culture architects. We've talked about culture architect today. We've talked about happy different kind of roles. And thanks for your time. And for every other person, you
Thank
can
you.
always watch this on our various social media channels and connect with us on any other social media channel. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback and your comments. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
everyone. Bye.